Hi, it's Cheryl Cran, and this week I want to talk to you about something in my book, NextMapping, Anticipate, Navigate, and Create the Future of Work, Chapter 2, where I talk about the predict model. Of course, there is no one that can fully predict the future. We can have a lot of insights into the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. But when I wrote the book, NextMapping, Anticipate, Navigate, and Create the Future of Work, it was really part of the anticipation is being able to better sort of see what's coming down in the future by looking at trends, looking at patterns, recognizing those patterns' impact on current reality, and then how we can use that information to shape and shift the future reality. I think of a couple of examples of companies that have done a really good job of pattern recognition, which I talk about in Chapter 2, and I mention both these companies throughout the book as well. The first that I'll mention is, of course, Uber, which gets referred to a lot because Uber sort of revolutionized the technology behind what's made it what it is today, this globally renowned and used service of rideshare or ride service. When we look at Uber, what they did is created a platform that appealed to the values of today's consumers. So speed, ease, in the last few months, they've really increased their safety, all the attributes that come with using a person-to-person service. What Uber's creators did is looked at the patterns of what was going on globally and what was going on with the way people were moving around cities and the way people were traveling and looking at taxi service and traditional black car service and all these different things to sort of go, hey, we can see that there's an opening in the market for matching up riders with drivers going from certain locations. And that's how it was born. So the pattern of looking at consumer behaviors and purchasing and attitudes and all those things. And to do that today is really important because any one of us in any industry is going to be disrupted. There's no question. It's happening as we speak. Our ability to be proactive in anticipating these future disruptions allows us to be ahead of our competition, but also to stay relevant in our businesses and in our industry. So this week, what I want you to really think about is in Chapter 2, I use the predict model. I want to talk about the two top items of the predict model, which is patterns and recognition, is the ability to look for those patterns. Now, you probably already do this to some degree, but I'm talking about an elevated perspective here where we're looking at patterns in the business. So what are our patterns of success? What are our patterns of not so much success? What are our patterns of being able to attract good people? What are our patterns of keeping good people? So looking at everything through the patterns lens. The best way to look at patterns is through data. So we have more data today with predictive analysis and all sorts of data that we use for crowdsource through social media and also employee surveys, customer surveys, 360s. All of that data is highly, highly valuable in order to emerge and see the patterns that are emerging from that data. So that's one thing this week I'd like you to think about on a business level. On a personal level, what we're seeing is an evolution or a revolution, if you will, of attitudes and values and how people are looking at life differently and how they're looking at work differently and how we're shifting from an exclusivity model to an inclusivity model of how we act and behave as a society. So if we look at patterns from a perspective of what are the patterns of the behavior that are going to serve and support us as we move to the future. So for example, the patterns that will guarantee you future success would be accepting and participating in diversity, accepting inclusivity, recognizing the shift in mentalities around work and who does work, recognizing the shifts in how technology is democratizing business globally, recognizing the patterns in globalization and cultural acceptance. And all of these things are trends that are going to continue to happen. Now, if we look at that through the patterns recognition lens, we say, okay, we're becoming more inclusive planet. We're becoming a more diverse planet within the work world. We're becoming more accepting of varying cultures and religions and opinions and values. So asking ourselves, does our business match that pattern? Are we inclusive? Are we diverse? Are we appealing to markets that we maybe haven't appealed to in the past? Are we looking at different cultures and different types of workers to work in our work environment? So this is some of the opportunity of patterns recognition. On a personal level and on a day-to-day level, are we looking at patterns through how we can personally evolve? So for myself, I'm very attuned to patterns. So I'm always looking at patterns and behavior of people that I observe. I'm looking at patterns and behavior in my clients, and I'm looking at patterns and behavior in myself. So for example, in the past, maybe I would get angry or defensive if somebody were to give me feedback. That would be a pattern of the past. If I recognize the value of feedback and how it's a learning tool and a growth tool, which I've always recognized, but if I further see it as, no, I want to pay close attention to this because my past pattern wasn't to listen carefully to the feedback. Now I want to listen very carefully because it's going to inform and shape my personal evolution, but also how I can be a better person in my work and in my business and for my clients. So this whole patterns recognition is quite a deep concept in that we're seeing it helping us to shape that future. So no, we don't have a crystal ball, but we can certainly look at the patterns of human behavior, the patterns that technology are setting forward for us for the future, and we can begin to shape our policies, we can shape our procedures, we can shape our leadership approaches, we can shape our team interactions, all based on these patterns that are showing themselves to us and emerging for the future of work. So I hope this week you really take this to heart around patterns and recognizing patterns, both for self and in the business. And if you want to find out more, do check out the book, NextMapping, Anticipate, Navigate, and Create the Future of Work. But also check out YouTube, more videos that you can watch on the subject. And I really encourage you to seek those patterns and then to align your personal behaviors and your business approach around the patterns that are emerging and shaping the future of work. Take care. Have a great rest of the week.